Hi, everybody. So I'm so excited to be here for another one of my live streams. I've been doing these about every week just because, especially right now, I'm seeing so much content, both film and theater. So it just makes sense to do it every week. And I also have been just not able to record as many podcasts as I would like. So it just makes sense to do this live stream, and it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy doing it. And so here we go. Here we're talking about my latest movies and stage performances that I've seen. I have the chat room open. So if you want to make a comment, please do. I have the super chat. If you want to make a donation, I would really be grateful and be able to do some really awesome things with that. But let's dive in. Let's first start talking about movies that I have seen since my last live stream. And make sure you're following me on Instagram and then also on my stories here on my shorts on YouTube, because I do my out of theater reactions for on Instagram for all of the content that I see, movies and theater. So you definitely want to be checking that out over there. And and so let's dive in. Let's get started. Let's see, what did we end on last time? So last time we ended on, I think it was, let's see here. Okay. I think last time, let's see here. I think I was before I went to see Heretic. I don't remember if I had talked about. Yeah. Let's see here. Sorry. Okay. Let's see. Let me make sure I get it right. Okay, the last live stream was with Jax, but then the one before that was on October 10th. Or no, October 24th. Okay, October 24th. Perfect. Okay. Then I saw, October 24th, and then I went to see, I saw two movies that night on October 24th. Let's see, November. Oh no, my last one was November 5th. Sorry. Last one was November 5th. Okay, I was like, I know I've done one since then. Okay. November 5th. Okay. All right. So the first movie that I want to talk about is, since my last live stream, is I saw Memoir of a Snail. And this is a stop motion animated film by director Adam Elliott. And it's about a girl named Grace who becomes a foster child and gets separated from her twin brother. And she loves snails and she collects snails. And it is really, really well animated, and the color palette and the voice work and just everything. And the ending really did get to me, what happens in the end. But this thing is a huge, huge downer. It is extremely depressing. So even, I mean, marrying Max, that makes that look like a joyride. This is very depressing, but it did win me over in the end. The ending made me very happy. And it is extremely cute. I loved the animation, so I did enjoy it, but it's pretty intense. Okay. Then I saw The Brutalist. Let's talk about this, The Brutalist. So The Brutalist is a movie that you think when you watch it, you think, how did this get made? How is this made? Like there's so much about it that seems impossible. 215 minutes. It has an intermission. It doesn't even have like that much plot. Like that's what's crazy about it. Even though it's so long, you're basically following this man and his experiences. He's this architect and Laszlo Toth, and you see him like building his life back together after the war, facing anti-Semitism. He ends up working for Guy Pearce, who is sometimes pretty open-minded about working this new brutalist style of architecture, but also sometimes can be quite horrific and horrible. Felicity Jones plays his wife, who ends up disabled. And so she's in a wheelchair for most of the movie. This is definitely a movie where I think they could have gotten a actor in a wheelchair to do the part, because there's no like before and after of any kind. The first time we see her, she's in a wheelchair. So I think that they could have given that role to somebody that's in a wheelchair, but she's still excellent in the role. It's a grueling watch. It's one I never probably would want to watch again. I mean, Adrian Brody is absolutely amazing in this movie. He is. I mean, you forget that you're watching an actor. Like it's so real, and you feel like so swept away, and it's just everything about it feels epic, and you're watching this like a life play out. You're a fly on the wall of this life, and sure, there will be people that say it's boring because not that much actually happens in like almost 4 hours, but I don't know, I was kind of transfixed by it, by the performances, by the characters, by the incredible filmmaking. The music is absolutely beautiful. This jazz music, like performances, the filmmaking, and you just watch and think, how did this get made in 2024? Like, what? Unbelievable. Really, very, very, very impressive. The Brutalist. I think everybody should definitely watch it. And as far as like the Oscar hopefuls that I have seen, this is the most impressive that I've seen all across the boards. Every category, you could have something from the Brutalist in. Is it something that like I enjoyed? No, but like it is cinema. Like it is incredibly like just powerful. So I really do recommend it. I think it is very, very, very good. Okay. Then I saw the other direction. I saw Red One, and I actually was pretty excited about this. I gave it a diamond ring in our preview over at Hallmarky's podcast. And this was just such a dud for me. It was so boring. And that was its greatest flaw to me, is because the action looks so bad. It's so cheap looking and somehow cost $250 million. It's so bad and so badly done that it takes you out of the moment. And so you can't enjoy it as action. And so it's just like, ugh, it's just so long. And I mean, this thing should never be over 2 hours. I don't know what they were thinking with that. It should be funny. It should be quippy. It should be enjoyable. This was just, to me, like an action slog. I think that The Rock has like really taken a downturn. Like he used to be, to me at least, quite charming, and I used to enjoy seeing him even in the Kevin Hart movies and other things. And the last like 4 or 5 movies that I've seen from him, he's been self-serious, he's been boring, he's been bland. I mean, I don't know what happened, but I'm losing that charisma, that charm, that funny nature that I enjoyed. And Chris Evans, he's just walking through this. It's really not much of anything. It is one of the worst looking action movies I've seen in a long time. Spectacle. The special effects are truly abysmal. They look so bad that it was absolutely terrible. I hated it. Then I saw Christmas at Miller's Point, and this is like an indie film about this family that are all getting ready for Christmas Eve. This Italian family, and in Long Island, and there are various shenanigans that happen over the course of the Christmas Eve. Normally, I would like love that, but it has almost no story. It's just kind of following this family, and I just needed a little bit more story for this one. And also I felt like the acting was pretty poor throughout. It just felt phony, didn't feel genuine. And there's so many other movies that kind of have this similar idea of sort of following a family, Christmas Eve, holidays, whatever you might be, and that just works so much better. Like I think Feast of the Seven Fishes from a couple years ago is basically the same movie, but like better. And I just needed like at least one sort of story thread to like hang on to throughout to keep me engaged. But I just didn't have anything like that worked for me. So that one was a miss, unfortunately. So that's the movies that I saw in the theater. So let's see what else. I saw an Almost Christmas Story. This is an animated short by director David Lowery, and it's produced by Alfonso Cuarón. It is extremely sweet. It's on Disney Plus. It's about a little owl that gets taken with the tree for Rockefeller Center and becomes friends with this little girl. And just very sweet. The animation is wonderful. It's definitely a highlight of this holiday season. An Almost Christmas Story on Disney Plus. Really recommend that. I saw Heretic. I don't know if I talked about that in my previous live stream, but I think that it is a very like interesting movie that gives a lot to talk about, and you can listen to our entire episode with me and Rebecca where we dive into it. But it's the movie that I like, and I'm more forgiving of its problems the more I kind of think about it and think about all the things that it has to say, and the characters and the conversations and everything, especially that first half. And so I appreciate everybody who listened to that episode and had something to say, and the feedback I've gotten on it. And I really, really appreciate that. So then we have Hot Frosty. I'm jumping all over the place. But Hot Frosty, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. I mean, I liked it. I really enjoyed it. It's maybe still strong, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny, especially that first half that's all about these sort of fish out of water, this guy who doesn't have our normal social cues. That was really funny to me. And then it's once it started to try to be like all emotional and like we're gonna try to like save Hot Frosty, and I thought the second half it was just kind of like, oh, why did you do that? Like you were having so much fun and being so much fun that we didn't really need it to get all sentimental and try to be a drama all of a sudden. But nevertheless, I still overall enjoyed it. And I think if you're tuning into Hot Frosty, you will get what you want out of Hot Frosty for this movie. So let me know what you think of Hot Frosty. I would definitely be very curious for that. Let's see if there's anything else. Okay, so then I also saw, I mean, I've seen a lot of Christmas movies for Hallmark and different things, But I saw Meet Me Next Christmas. This is on Netflix. This is Christina Milian and her trying to get this ticket. She's kind of like a serendipity type setup where she says I should agree that she's going to meet with this person that she had this amazing connection with. They're going to meet at this Pentatonics concert. Then she can't get a ticket, and so she's all over town trying to get a ticket. And this guy starts to help her. Unfortunately, I really wasn't feeling it with this guy. I felt like his acting was pretty weak, and so that hurt it a little bit. And it just wasn't. It just was not that great. I don't think it was very good. So that one was a miss for me. As far as the Hallmark, I think my favorite of Hallmark Christmas season, we've actually had 20 movies, if you can believe it, already for this Hallmark season. But either the 5-year Christmas Party or Santa Tell Me, A Carol for Two. I think those are the three best of the season so far. A lot of fun, all three of those movies. So that's what I would recommend of Hallmark. But they've had a pretty good start, I think, a pretty good season. Like there hasn't been that much that I've like hated. Probably the worst so far as Hallmark for me would probably be Five Gold Rings, which wasn't like terrible. It was just kind of boring. So like I just was not that engaged, and the leads weren't doing it for me. So yeah, I would that would be my least favorite, and then my Sweet Austrian Holiday, that would be my next least favorite. So there we go. But Red One would be the worst, I think, of Christmas so far this season. So let's talk about what I saw as far as the theater. Okay. So I saw Peter Pan, and I was going to this kind of skeptical. This is the national tour of Peter Pan. I'm not the biggest Peter Pan person, and so I was just like, "Oh, this is not going to be good." I actually really enjoyed it. I think it's one of my favorite things to see as far as the national tours this year, which I was not expecting to say. But there are some things I didn't like about it, like some of the modernizing and some of the sort of more woke language. And like, why do they have to have Wendy and John and Michael like worried about viral videos and like stuff like that? I didn't like that. But as far as most of the other elements, I really enjoyed, especially the flying. It is definitely one of the most successful usages of video projections that I've seen. That's all the rage right now, whether you're on Broadway, a national tour, local, whatever it might be. That's very, very popular right now. And it makes sense because it's a huge cost-cutting measure. And especially if they can use the AI to make the projections, that makes everything really cheap. And as opposed to building, complicated sets, which they did have complicated sets for this show as well. But the flying was all done to these incredible backdrops. And so it really felt like they were flying. And it was just so well executed. I really enjoyed that a lot. And the Captain Hook, even though his accent was happening, he was really, really funny. And I enjoyed him a lot. So I liked the Peter Pan way more than I expected. If it's coming near you, the national tour of Peter Pan, I recommend it. I think it would be a great way to introduce kids to musical theater, one of their first musicals. I think they would love it. So check it out. I really, really did enjoy it. Then I saw a little musical called Hope for Flowers. This is by the Heart Theater Company, and they're in Salt Lake. And this is an original musical based on the book Hope for Flowers. And it was fun to see something new and fresh and feel the energy. The performances were really good, even though I saw understudy in the lead role of Stripe. He was great. And so that was neat to see. And it's just like a simple story of this caterpillar who doesn't know if he wants to take the familiar path of becoming a butterfly. what's going to happen. And it was very bright, very colorful. The costumes were really nice. It definitely had like Seussical energy. What was most impressive is they had in this little tiny black box, they somehow managed to have this huge orchestra for this show, which I just thought was incredible and really good. And they had tons of dance, and it's this tiny space, including they had this whole aerial silks acrobatics thing, which was, I just thought, very impressive for the space. The story is very simple. I mean, I've never read the child's picture book, but I think that it has potential. I think that there's one song called Sour Grapes that I think is the best song of the musical. And if I were them, I would put a couple more songs kind of like that into, especially in the first act, into the show, because it started to feel sort of like, oh, these are the same ballads over and over and over and over again. And you need to kind of switch it up between like the more peppy numbers, especially for something like this that's so bright and colorful and for kids and things like that. So that's what I would recommend if they asked me for advice. But I think there's something there. There's potential. Okay, then I saw Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. This is the teen edition at East High School. Yes, that East High School from High School Musical. I went up there. They asked me to come take a look at it, review it, and I was happy to do so. And the teens were absolutely wonderful. These were a lot of speaking parts, a lot of dialogue. It was very exposition heavy. They're asked to do a lot. I thought that the things like the transition to Polyjuice, where they sub out different actors, was very smooth, very well done. And they were all just doing their best and trying their best to bring the characters out. I thought the Albus and the Scorpius were quite good, had good chemistry together. So all of that worked for me, but I did not like this play at all. I thought it was so long and boring, and I was just not interested in the story, and it's like very exposition heavy, like very tell not show. And since I wasn't like interested in the story, all this talking just did nothing for me. I just did not like this play really at all. I don't think I'd ever see it again. I know people say that like on Broadway, it has all the spectacle and awe, but if I'm not interested in the story, like that's not going to do it for me almost all the time. I was so uninterested in everything going on with this Harry Potter fanfic. So no thanks. Okay. Then I saw, let's see here. Okay. Then I saw Hadestown Teen Edition. Another teen edition, and this was at Riverton High School. And they also asked me to come check it out, which I was glad to do so. And I have to admit, like Hadestown for me is a show, even now, that I like more than I love. It's not. I certainly appreciate it. I think it's very impressive what it does, but I don't I just don't love it. I don't love the story. I think that it kind of has sort of, I wish that it was almost more focused on Morpheus instead of going off all these kind of tangents. And I don't know. I just don't love it. I don't think it's that, but I think it's entertaining. I like it. I just don't love it. And it's a lot of people's one of their favorites, which I get. It's just not one of mine because the story doesn't quite do it for me. But anyway, so this is my second time seeing it. This is a teen edition. And I was blown away by these teens. Like, it was so good. Like, this is not one of those ones where I'm like, oh, it was good for being teens. This was just like really impressive, period, end of story. The singing was so good, especially Hades. He should apply for the Jimmy Awards. He was so good. That role requires like just this really deep voice, and he was amazing. I was so impressed with his singing. But all the choreography, and I love in high school productions when you see like tons of students being involved and participating, and that's what I want to see, because how do you know if you like something if you never get a chance to try, if you never get a chance to do it? And this was a huge cast with the stages like completely full, and everybody doing the choreography and then coming out into the audience with their lights and their things. And that was so cool. And all of the leads were outstanding. And they didn't have really any technical problems, which is usually what you end up getting with high school productions. Not here. It was smooth. It was clean. And the costumes were all great. The makeup was all great. And with Cursed Child, the one thing that I kind of thought was a missed opportunity, speaking of the projections, is that almost all the sets were done via projections, as opposed to any kind of built set. They'd bring on a few props, but not much. And I think that's a missed opportunity. I think it's good. At least I have very warm memories of like painting set panels and things like that. And like kids getting to, again, experiencing their creativity and seeing if they like something. And so I think doing the projections was kind of a missed opportunity and chance for the kids to show their creativity. But in this Hades town, it was pretty bare bones. There wasn't like a ton of sets, but pretty much everything was practical. There was some imaging on the sides of the walls, but everything was pretty practical as far as the props and sets, and again, it was pretty simple. But what they did with the lights and what they did with the different elements of the afterlife and trapdoors and things like that was very well done. And I just appreciated they had some cool lighting that they had in the background, but then also the actual lights hanging down. It wasn't as elaborate, obviously, as the Broadway show, but they still had some of that. And so that was, I think, very, very impressive. The whole thing was just super impressive. I was blown away by it. It's still going on. I can't recommend it more highly if you're in this area. Riverton High School, Hades Town. It was great. So that is everything that I have seen stage and screen. So let me know what you think of all these different things. I really appreciate it. And we'll look forward to next week, another week of updates, and make sure that you're logged in because I see Wicked on Sunday. So that will be really fun. I have not heard a single negative review, which is just amazing to me. So definitely let me know what you think of all these different movies and what you're excited for coming up. I definitely will be curious for that. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.